Hey, hi, how you doing? This is the Gamertron, and welcome back to the Gamertron Show. I am joined once again by Grindhead Jim.
How's it going, guys?
And guess what, everybody? It's time for your Doom. We're here to talk about Doom, the first-person shooter that started first-person shooters right next to Wolfenstein 3D. It is the granddaddy, the godfather, the magnum opus of first-person shooters, Doom. It's a classic. It's a classic. It's a piece of video game history. And if you guys are unaware, this E3, it's already been announced. Doom, the new Doom game, Doom 4, but it's apparently a remake reboot, Doom, so they're just calling it Doom, but we're going to call it Doom 4. Doom 4 is being announced, and we're going to finally see some more information and some actual gameplay at E3 this year. So the excitement is building, hype is rising, and, well, now's as good a time as, if not any, to talk about Doom. So, Jim, let's talk about our experience with Doom. How did you get into Doom?
Well, I think you already started my story by stating that Wolfenstein 3D, the original, really started it all. That was id's first foray into first-person shooters, and it really started that genre almost single-handedly, I would argue. And killing Nazis was a great thing, and then Doom took it a step.
It was also controversial.
Yes, it really was at the time. I remember on my dad's 386 and just taken aback. And then a couple years later, Doom came out, and we got a hold of it, and I played quite a bit of it. And it was one of these things where, as a shooter, it had done so much more with what we knew from Wolfenstein, because it was a spiritual successor to Wolfenstein, and they wanted to flex the muscles of the engine as much as they possibly could, and they did a great job of it.
Damn, did they ever. And even to this day, the first two Doom games are still technically impressive.
Oh, absolutely, especially when you consider how small they actually are. Really small games. They can fit them on all of them on a USB drive. It's insane. And it combined things that by the time I really got into playing Doom, that I wanted. This kind of heavy metal aesthetic with, let's face it, the occult, shooting things. It's all there. And I can't say a bad thing about it in that respect, because those were all things I was heavily into at the time. It was something that was important to me. And to have that all wrapped up in one game and kind of know you're on the cutting edge of something was a really cool feeling. And I remember when the original Doom came out for PlayStation 1, it was a launch title, and it was in the big box, and it ran so good. It ran so buttery. It was perfect. It started out as a 3.5-inch floppy game, and they put everything onto a CD, and then they upped the graphics, they upped the music, they did everything, and it just was butter. And that, to me, will always be the best version of Doom, was the PlayStation version, because it just kind of cut things down to the bare minimums in terms of gameplay, because you don't need much, really. I honestly think mouse and keyboard is overkill on the original Doom. I think controller works just fine, but I used both, and I like both. I just prefer a controller. So, and then you've got the later on games that we can discuss in a bit more detail as we go along. But there were so many things established by Doom, which, for those of you that have listened to our Halo discussion, Doom kind of set the bar as far as here's what you have to have for these games to work. You have to have a wide array of enemies. They've got to be visually striking from a distance. They've got to have personality. You've got to have a wide array of environments that all tie together with the theme. Your character's got to be distinct,
a badass,
but distinctive without being too far removed, because you have to be able to identify. And you've got to have a lot of fucking guns. And
yes, guns, weapons. Like, Doom established that this is a first-person shooter. You're here to shoot stuff. So you know what? Make your guns as awesome as possible. There were so many shooters that came out after Doom that were trying to one-up each other in terms of weapons. Like, oh jeez, there was Quake, there was Hexen, there were all these games like, you have guns, we have magic and explosions, we have nuclear grenade launchers and all this stuff. Like, they kept trying to, first-person shooter after first-person shooter, each one that came out, like, we have to try and one-up each other in terms of creative weaponry.
Mm-hmm. And
Doom started.
it really did. Like it set the bar so unbelievably high. Like because Wolfenstein already had like a nice, modest but very robust weapon set, and Doom took all those things, made them better. Like now, instead of just having a shotgun, now you fired a shotgun and you could see the hand pumping it on screen. You could you had a Gatling gun again, but now it had a lot more beef to it, like bah, 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 bah. Like it was much
Yeah.
more, in tune with that. The pistol was more than viable. Like the pistol in Wolfenstein was a lot like the pistol in Halo, where it wasn't your first choice of a weapon, but if that's all you had, it definitely could do the job.
It did the
In
job. It was every weapon had its
and
use.
in Doom, if you had the pistol, it was oh shit time. You had the pistol out because you'd ran out of everything else. And although you could get away with some stuff, they did a really good job of weapon balancing, where a pistol felt like a pistol, a rocket launcher felt like a rocket launcher, and so
And
on.
the BFG felt like Death Incarnate.
It sure did. And I love the color green, so it worked out well.
And that the amount like that weapon right there, the BFG, the big fucking gun, that has become been a part of gaming. That's a part of first-person shooters since Doom and the invention of the BFG. A lot of shooters have been trying to find a way. How can we make a gun like the BFG, a gun that makes the player feel totally empowered, an end-game weapon like that?
Not to mention the fact that aside from just the mechanics of it and what it did for gameplay and that, it was also extremely self-referential. Like they knew that they'd already had some pretty ridiculous guns in there. Like how can we? Because like the pulse rifle. Oh, I love me some pulse rifle, and I liked it because it sounded like I was in an episode of GI Joe. But when you get a game like the Doom that is now referencing itself and satirizing itself within the same game, that was something that hadn't been done before. A game that self-aware, a game that, frankly,
They knew what it was.
yeah,
They knew it was. The developers knew what they were making, and they knew who they were making this for.
you bet, absolutely.
And that's what the first Doom is. Instant classic, did so much right, and same goes for the sequel. But now let's talk about Doom Free. And I know we have a bit of a different opinion on Doom Free, but I'll let you get your opinion on Doom Free out there.
Doom 3 had a ridiculous amount of potential. From the outset, it looked like they'd taken great pains to get the characters to look a lot like the ones that were originally in the game, but update them to look that much creepier. There was great pains taken to, really show in many ways. This is like Doom 1 if we had the technology we did back then. And that's a good thing. I really dug that. However, there were certain things that just bogged down the pacing of the game. Like it was creepy. And for the first 2 hours, being creepy was really done well. But there was little to no sustainability in the creepiness factor beyond now you're just, cheapening things with jump scares, which is all well and good, but I didn't see the point of it. I didn't think that it was something that I just thought it was they tried too hard in certain areas. Now understand, I also only played the original version. I've never touched the BFG version. I've never touched the expansion because the original left such a bad taste in my mouth. And we've had discussions about hype in the past. Doom 3 was something I was really stoked for. So when I finally sat down and I got my hands on it and I'm, shooting one of those devil dogs for the first time, the pink monsters, like, oh.
The Pinky Demons.
Yeah.
The new Pinky Demons.
Those was, that to me was the defining factor in the game. Now, the original Doom, even though you had some relatively enclosed spaces, most of your areas were wide open rooms or wide open spaces where enemies were just swarming. And Doom 3 was very claustrophobic, and it was a lot of one-on-one encounters for the most part in the early parts of the game. And that's when you have the opportunity to really showcase to me what this game is capable of. You can always pull back. But if in the first hour or two you show me how underpowered I am by throwing a lot of enemies at me and scaring the pants off me, then you've done something right. Doom 3 didn't do that. Doom 3 said, here's your tablet, and well, you can have a gun, I guess. And we're going to do a lot of character development because the games now have character development. So you're going to learn, you're going to be a detective now. You're going to be Columbo in space, but you're a Marine, so you'll shoot things about once every 45 minutes. Isn't this fun? It's not what Doom was founded on. Doom was, here, you're a badass, here are the guns, here's the direction you go in, have fun. And Doom 3, although from a basic design standpoint, nailed it as far as what it should look like with that kind of rendered ability, the gameplay fell short of what the look and the pedigree of the game promised. And I found it extremely disappointing.
Ah, okay. Well, Jim, I'm going to have to completely disagree with you here.
Fair
Now,
enough.
granted, I didn't beat the original Doom 3. I've beaten Doom 3, the BFG edition. I only played the first few levels of the original Doom 3. I've only played Doom 3 BFG edition, and I have to say, at least for me, Doom 3 BFG edition, the original Doom campaign, because I'll talk about the expansions later, is an excellent, simply excellent first-person shooter campaign. It's one of the best, actually. I think it's one of the best in terms of pacing and action and variety. What my biggest fear going into Doom 3 was that everything I had ever seen, the environments looked samey. That was my biggest fear, that I was going to, okay, I've seen this before, I've done that before, that kind of thing. But Doom 3 surprised me is that it varied up the environments. Yes, you're on this space station. Yes, you're on Mars, this Mars space station. But they varied it up because each section of the Mars space station, the rooms, the areas are completely different from one another. They definitely had their own feel and their own look, which is something I like. Like, from level to level, there was always something memorable in Doom 3. There was always something memorable. The Alpha Labs are completely different from the Delta Labs. The opening of Mars City is completely different to the waste disposal area. And then there's Hell. Oh my god, Hell. The Hell levels in Doom. They're terrifying. They're absolutely terrifying and incredibly well designed from a visual outlook. Level design wise, they're pretty simple, pretty linear, but from a visual detail, environmental detail look at it, it's so well made.
So the only thing you disagree with me on so far is the fact that the gameplay for you was compelling, whereas for me it was not. We agree that the design was spot on.
Yes, design was absolutely spot on. But one thing I also have to... Well, you played the original Doom 3, and the original Doom 3 had you switching from flashlight to weapons, yes?
Mm-hmm.
But now, for a lot of people, one of the biggest criticisms was the bloody flashlight. They wanted to fight the enemies, but they hated having to take out the flashlight to find out where they are. Now, some people like that because it made it feel like more of a horror game, but honestly, Doom has always been an action game. And in the BFG edition, you always have the flashlight. It's attached to your character's shoulder, so you just turn it on anytime. It has a time limit. There's a certain amount of time you can have the flashlight on before it needs to recharge, which adds a nice little dynamic there, keeping tabs on your battery on your flashlight. But other than that, it allows you to go straight into the action. None of taking the flashlight out, looking around. It's always have your guns out, have your flashlight on, get into the action, which really helps the pacing. Because one of the biggest issues with Doom 3, I think you probably had and a lot of people had, was the pacing of the game, that it was so much slower compared to the twitch feeling of the original Dooms. Well, I do really respect and like the original Doom games. One of my problems, personal issues with the original Dooms, is that you move so fast. Your character moves so bloody fast that at times I was missing my shots, I was falling into dangerous hazards because your character moves so fast. In Doom 3, your character, the Marine, moved at a pace that was comfortable to me. I felt like I was in control, but it was still fast-paced enough, because now that I have the flashlight always out, I'm just sprinting from area to area, shooting demon, dodging, fireballs thrown at me, and it's a blast. I found it a real blast. So for me, the pacing, the design, and the combat, of course, the combat was really good. Well, admittedly, I was extremely disappointed, I know this is incredibly petty, that the double-barrel super shotgun isn't in the original Doom 3 campaign. It's only in the expansion packs, which honestly disappointed me. I enjoyed the original shotgun. That's a lot of fun. I really like that shotgun, but the double-barrel super shot, come on, that's like a requirement. It's Doom.
Yeah, it kind of is.
But Honestly, I preferred the Doom-free BFG edition because it fixed the pacing. The level design was already good. Dealt with that bloody flashlight. I just found Doom-free BFG edition to be an improvement over not just the original Doom, but the original Doom-free.
Okay.
I know that's a kind of weird opinion to have, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I really like Doom-free.
There's not a thing wrong with that opinion at all. I would argue that based on the description you just gave of the BFG edition, honestly, I think that we're looking at something that is probably a much better game. I just haven't played, and you've given me cause and pause, and I certainly want to try out the BFG edition of the game, especially on PC. Because that's
definitely on PC.
Because that's probably where it's going to shine the most. Because otherwise, I'm getting an Xbox version, and it's like, well, I don't want to fucking get an Xbox 360, man. So I would much rather have it on PC and push it to its limits. Because why the hell not?
Oh yes, talking about limits, talking about graphics. Thing we have to bring up about Doom Free: the lighting. Even to this very day, 2015, the lighting in Doom Free. This is an over decade old. This was released in 2003. So this is over a decade old. The lighting to this very day is incredibly impressive. The way the shadows move off characters, the way the flashlight illuminates areas, and just the different colored lightings, the reds, the blues, how they intermingle the shadows. Just I don't believe it. A game that's over a decade old, and the lighting even outshines games to this day. The lighting was so good in Doom Free and added so much atmosphere.
And it was something that I guess my disappointment for the game in general came to the fact that everything looked good. Most of the time it felt right. The execution was kind of off. And the lighting was something I thought was really good. I thought the flashlight mechanic was great. And I think my gripe was very similar to the gripe other people had. And by the time BFG had become a thing, for me, it was a bit late. But yeah, the lighting was something I was so impressed with in all the trailers and the gameplay, and then playing it. I liked it. I thought that it brought a ridiculous amount of atmosphere. And you could have, just like in Dead Space, you could have turned on all the lights. I still would have shit my pants, and there were times though where the lighting was so sparse, I couldn't find my way, and I got lost, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah, I can understand that. That's a problem I had with the original Doom from what I played, because I was getting lost because I couldn't see anything, because I had to keep switching from guns to flashlight. Again, BFG edition, a lot of people complain, but it doesn't have that horror feeling. The game's not as scary. Well, Doom's always been an action game. It started out as an action shooter. It should remain an action shooter
with jump scares, yeah, because when the Caco was come out, you're like, oh shit,
Exactly, and I personally had a ton of those moments in Doom Free, especially with those goddamn imps, those imp jump scares. You walk up to a door, you're moving along, you just slaughtered a room of demons. Okay, next room, let's go. Door opens, imp jumps at you. God damn it again!
Right, and it's one of these things where, I already put a video out on my channel about the new Doom reveal, and right away the only thing we see is
a revenant.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
And he's walking, shooting, just doing his thing. And you could tell from the background that it was a moderately open area that was well lit.
Yeah, I noticed that. Granted, we were probably looking at the side, but you could, it looked like it was almost hell. Do you think that was hell? It was a very cavernous, cavey kind of.
It could have been. And in any case, it tells me that they're opening things up. They learned that even with the BFG mod, Doom 3 was too claustrophobic. We were used to Doom being able to move around. Not open world, but having a lot more freedom to kind of move from place to place. And
that is one thing I will admit. In Doom 3, compared to the other Dooms, there were a lot more corridors, yes? But I also found that there were still open spaces. I was still sprinting around, dodging, taking cover, all sorts of things in Doom 3. But I will admit, compared to the Dooms, there's just a tad too many corridors. But I think the levels in Hell best show off what the original Doom's like so much. In the original Hell levels in Doom 3, and in BFG edition, of course, the Hell levels are much more wide open. Yes, there's some walls and cover here and there,
sure,
but they're usually these wide open areas that they just throw a few enemies at you in.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's what they're doing more of in this new Doom, is that well, every first-person shooter is going to have corridors to link you to the wide-open areas, but there's probably going to be more wide-open combat because everything we've heard from the media, from people who were actually at QuakeCon and saw gameplay demos, they said it was more wide-open, there was a lot of jumping, running, and more blood and gore.
Mm-hmm. And it just feels like the new one is trying to bridge the gap between what the original Doom fans love with what they learned from Doom 3. And just based upon the talk, based upon the idea that it's less about innovating and really getting a really solid Doom game out there. And I'm all for innovation, don't get me wrong, and I hope that this innovates on some level, but at the end of the day, what I'm looking for...
You want a Doom game to feel like a Doom game.
Yeah, and I really feel like this is going to be that game. And this is going to be another one of those games that I have to figure out what platform I'm getting it on. Because I got friends on both platforms, and just like with Rainbow Six Siege, I'm probably gonna have to buy it twice to play it, and whatever. But
yeah, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But speaking of platforms, and you're talking about where to get the new Doom, Doom 4. My biggest concern with this new Doom, it isn't like if it's going to feel like Doom. My biggest concern is the goddamn graphics engine, because they're still using the IdTech 5 engine. And if you've done any research on the IdTech 5 engine, even though the games look good, they are filled with issues. The Rage, Wolfenstein: The New Order, and the recently released Wolfenstein: The Old Blood, which surprisingly had way more issues than its predecessor, The New Order, all used the IdTech 5 engine, and all of them had different graphical issues, all related to that goddamn graphics engine. With Rage, there was a problem with texture streaming and pop-in. With The New Order, it was a variety of issues, mostly FPS. With The Old Blood, it's once again with texture streaming and pop-in, and now texture stuttering. So, while the games look good on this graphics engine, I just don't trust the IdTech 5 engine. Yes, the games end up looking good, and I love the new Wolfenstein games and Rage. They're good-looking games. I love the gameplay, and the graphics engine, for the most part, do the job, but that doesn't change the fact that the IdTech 5 is unstable as hell, and the new Doom's running on the IdTech 5, so I am concerned about it graphics, bugs, and glitches-wise.
I think that's a valid point to make, and it's... honestly and truly... I don't know what they could do really to fix it ahead of time. I think that just like with everything else, they're going to have to put it out there, and there's going to be a hefty week 1 patch. And
oh yes,
I wonder if this won't be the last game they release on the engine. I would hope so, for obvious reasons. But
yes, I mean again, IdTech 5 games look good. I mean, Wolfenstein: The New Order and Old Blood look gorgeous. Rage, to this day, runs on the IdTech 5. Again, looks gorgeous. But that friggin' graphics engine. You know, to this day, I still can't get the New Blood to run properly. I literally have to get a new graphics card to play the Old Blood, even though the New Order works perfectly fine, and it's using the same graphics engine and the same assets.
How the hell is that? That is ridiculous.
Oh, IdTech 5! Oh, man, but that's my biggest worry about the new Doom. But let's just talk about this new Doom a bit more, based on what we've seen. One thing we know for sure, they're going back to the old Dooms, the original 2 Dooms, and they're trying to make it more classic. I mean, people lost their minds on the first Doom teaser because of the stupid door that opened had the original sound effects from the old Doom games in this new Doom game.
Oh, yeah. And that I noticed that too.
They're being self-referential. I think they're trying to pull a new Wolfenstein: The New Order here, because Wolfenstein: The New Order reinvigorated an old id franchise, but now id is working on this new Doom game. This is their baby, so they have to get this right, and they want to appeal to the old school fans while bringing new people in, which I can kind of understand why they didn't want to call it Doom 4, because this would kind of negate new people who have never heard of Doom, and if you've never heard of Doom, what the hell is wrong with you? But other than that, I can understand why they want to reboot the series, but at the same time, keep it so that it attracts the old and new players. So, but that comes to the point, like, how much are they going to modernize this? Because they have to modernize it in some fashion. Even though the Wolfenstein: The New Order did well, they still have to appeal to newbies who unfortunately play Call of Duty, because, well, Bethesda still wants to make money.
Right, and it is something that I think the way to market this is going to be simple. If you make it a traditional Doom style game and you stick with the deathmatch, just free for all deathmatch, I think you're
Oh
going to
yeah,
be.
that's another thing. That's another thing that's being argued. Sorry to interrupt you again, Jim. It's also being argued this because game modes haven't been confirmed. People don't know if Doom's going to be a single player only or multiplayer game.
It wouldn't surprise me if it's single player only. The last one was single player only, and the original Doom was one versus one. But then again, the patches, or not the patches, the remasters that they did for like Xbox and so forth, they preserved the online functionality, and it was troll-tacular. It was fun. So I suppose it's a possibility. My concern has more to do with, and this is something I've never understood why they don't look at DLC in this way. Why not put out the best possible single player campaign you can, and then make the optional add on the multiplayer? If you want, you pay a little extra and you get that.
Oh, that would actually be a good idea.
Because then you're only going to be forced to play it if you bought it. It's going to make it so that the multiplayer has to be worthwhile and has to function properly. And you're also,
Because you're paying it for it separately.
right.
It's costing money.
You're banking on the campaign and you're banking on the multiplayer. So the games like Battlefield or Call of Duty, which are trying to do 50% of two things to make a whole,
and both suffer because
exactly.
of it, both modes.
Instead of doing that, because there should be, with Battlefield, there should be a single player only edition, there should be a multiplayer edition, there should be a deluxe edition that has both. Granted, there should only be, $10-20 difference between any of those editions, but the idea being giving the choice and also funding the development in a different way. And then when DLC comes out, it can favor both. So you have DLC just for single player, DLC just for multiplayer, and together. I think that if, like we talk about DLC, and this is a conversation we're going to have another time, it needs to give players more choice. Something people have been just denied most of the time.
Yeah,
and
a lot.
And as a result, there's a lot less consumer confidence. And I think that argument we're having about Steam online, where is it multiplayer or isn't it, I think that really indicates that that's the case here. Because people are worried it'll have multiplayer because they're worried the single player campaign will suffer. Not, wow, what can they innovate with Doom? Is it going to work? The question is immediately going to, are they going to fuck over the single player campaign? That's the worry, and that just makes my heart so sad, because we should not be having that discussion. We should be having a discussion about the game. We should be having a discussion about how awesome it could be with all of those things or none of those things. Instead, we're left with being gun shy, if you'll pardon the pun. We're gun shy, and because of other games that have sucked in the past, and we're not giving it a fair chance. And we've only seen a second and a half of actual gameplay, really.
Well, there's the teaser trailer with the Cyber Demon,
right?
And then there's the second teaser trailer with the Revenant, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And then there's E3 coming, where we're actually going to see actual gameplay. Oh, there was also QuakeCon, but only specific people got to see it.
Right. So ultimately, one has to say, well, until we know more, it's just not safe to have that discussion, I think. But
I'm not sure Doom would work as multiplayer, though. Doom has mostly been single player. If there was a Doom multiplayer, like how would that work exactly?
Well, it
would be Marine versus Marine or Marine versus Demon.
Why not both? Why not have deathmatch where it's Marines and then do like something like what they did with Left 4 Dead, or even with Evolve, where they're two sides. I'd love to be a Caco Demon or an Imp or a Pinky Demon. Be great.
No, screw all that. The Cyber Demon. You want to play as the bloody Cyber Demon?
Well, yeah, but I was trying to bury the lead, man. I just think that there's potential there. I think that it's something that could be done. But like many others, I say, well, give us the best possible Doom game you can, and if you can happen to put some multiplayer in there, cool. Honestly, I think Doom will be interesting as co-op as well. Although I think it'd be neat to like have the stages where you start people on different sides of the stage with no radar. They have to find each other or something like that. So I don't know. I honestly don't know what they're going to do. All I know
Yeah, I
is
mean,
that
all we can do is speculate.
yeah, and I honestly think that if there's going to be a way to make Doom better, there's a good chance they've done it. I hope I'm right, but we won't know until we see more. So I am cautiously optimistic about the new Doom.
Same here, man. Same here. But cautiously optimistic. There's just two more things I want to bring up, and I think we'll have to go this video to a close. This is id's next game. The last game id made was Rage, and the last game they made before that was Doom 3. Now, id and Bethesda were really hoping Rage would be a success, and it was a mild success. It got some good reception and good sales, but overall, it wasn't id's comeback that they were hoping for. It wasn't the blockbuster. Rage wasn't the blockbuster id was hoping for.
Sure.
Do you think that they're making this new Doom out of simply the kindness of their hearts, or are they banking off the Doom franchise to just sort of milk it? Are they because Rage wasn't the success they were hoping for?
Both.
Both, really?
I think that I think that what happened with Rage humbled them enough to say, let's give people what they want and give them Doom, and let's take some ideas we've been wanting to do them in Doom, and see if they work, because we're not going to get a chance to do them anywhere else if we don't create something that sells. So I think we're going to see an innovative game that ups the ante for Doom itself, as well as some other things, because that's what it is good at. It is good at thinking outside the box, you know? Because so many things that at the time were kind of, in my opinion, detriments to the game were later tweaked and ideas were changed in other games, like the whole tablet system, the wrist thing. Like, having that kind of a heads-up display was used to greater effect in later games, where you had lots more control, but it felt like it was integrated in instead of having this long, drawn-out animation and taking you out of everything. I think that they have the capability to do better, but I think that about half of it is this is the game that they would have made if they hadn't had to make Doom, but they also have no choice but to make Doom. So, I don't know. I think it's more of the let's do this right than let's do this because we have no choice. But I think it's a hefty dose of both.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear your optimism, Jim. I'm really glad to hear that. Now, last thing I want to bring up. Well, we talked about this earlier, how they want to make the game to appeal to new and older audiences, and that includes the design of things. Just off the few teasers we got, the teaser with the Cyber Demon, the teaser with the Revenant and the shotgun, there's been some pretty big redesigns. Like, these are huge redesigns compared to the first Doom, Doom 3, and now this. I mean, there's so much more detail. Honestly, it looks like a different artistic angle altogether. Like, is this new Doom necessarily going to look like Doom? It may sound like Doom, it may feel like Doom, but will it look like Doom?
Yes, that's the shortest version I can give you, because there were, if you look at from Doom to Doom 3, and I'll just use the Pinky Demon as an example, that was a complete redesign, and yet it was undeniably recognizable as what it was. So I think that, again, if anyone can pull off that sort of thing, it's these guys. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing some new takes on the old stuff. They're probably going to take a lot of the character models from Doom 3, either throw them out or give them a facelift. There's no wrong answer to that question. You want to win me over as a gamer? Give me a viable, fearsome Caco Demon. Those were always my favorite, because that sound they made was just so goddamn scary. And
okay, I gotta ask now, a bit off topic, but well, no, it's Doom, so it's on topic. Caco Demon and Doom 3, Doom 3, what'd you think of those guys? Because I honestly preferred the Doom 3 Caco.
I never saw one. I never saw a Doom 3 Caco.
You didn't get that far? Oh man, it's quite a bit of a redesign, but at the same time they look creepy and gruesome.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
Yes, Doom 3 BFG edition, man. So Jim, that's me and Jim shooting the shit, talking about Doom, old Doom, Doom 3, new Doom. So much to talk about, but so little time. Thank you once again for joining me, Jim. English words. It's all the Satanism. It's all the Satanism. Talk about demons and Mars and all. It's messing me up.
Yeah.
Exactly. But if more people want to hear your opinion on Doom, first-person shooters, gaming in general, where do they have to go to hear and see more of you, Jim?
They can go over to they can go over to grindheadgym.com, youtube.grindheadgym.com, or twitch.grindheadgym.com, and Twitter and Facebook and everything else.
Friggin' awesome, man. Friggin' awesome. So thank you once again for joining me, Jim, to talk about Doom and shoot the shit.
Thanks for having me.
What do you guys think of Doom? What do you think of the old Dooms, Doom Free? What do you think of this new Doom? Are you excited? Are you indifferent? What are your thoughts on Doom as a whole? Let me know your thoughts, feelings, opinions in the comment section below, and go check out Jim's channel. This has been a video, and I will see you guys later.
Taco Demons!